put on it. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. It costs so much more. I mean, that sirloin steak is so much cheaper than a fucking bottle of vitamins. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Those vitamins are so fucking expensive. But whatever. Okay, whatever qualifiers you want to put on, I don't give a fuck about them. Actually, go ahead, do whatever you want. The point is that it's all psychology that makes meat valuable, okay? We can concede that, all right? It's a certain psychology, not a necessary psychology, just a psychology that makes that part of the game, all right? And so the point is most of our the definitions, the exact definitions of what we need, what we call graceful or elegant or beautiful, or all those definitions are completely fudgeable. I mean, you can create a human being that thinks dog ass is cool and fucks it and enjoys it just as much as you enjoy having romantic relations with your wife. I mean, somebody can enjoy fucking a dog just as much as you enjoy having sex with your wife. That's the nature of our psychology, and we understand what the mechanism is. And what I'm saying is that's the fact that it's just a contrivance. It's the desire that's the thing that matters, not the thing we desire. The thing we desire is not the thing with value. The thing that has value is the motivator. All right, and that's why the word addiction and desire are important, because that's basically the mechanism, and that's what I'm talking about. It's the mechanism of appreciation, the mechanism that allows us to feel pleasure. And I explained before, again, that I believe the pleasure is actually made out of the relief, okay, from pain. That dying is probably a very enjoyable experience because you are relieved of the burdens. I mean, so those after-death experiences that are so common probably are accurate. It probably feels pretty kick-ass to die when you finally get there, when you finally get to the end and you finally get released from all your earthly burden.
That's funny. I thought those, near-death experiences were about the same thing as you get when you, hold your breath and then rotate around 500 times, and your brain gets deprived of oxygen.
I don't know. That to me, that makes you feel kind of nauseous. I didn't know that made you feel really good. So maybe I was doing it wrong. Maybe I didn't spin enough time.
Maybe I was doing it wrong.
I had a couple of those kind of experiences. I mean, I did, when I was in the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, I've had 2 near-death experiences too. Not the kind where you see the light, but times where I thought my life was probably coming to an end. But I ain't talking about them here. But the word you keep using is contrivance. Like, what the fuck do you mean? A contrivance, when what you're talking about is an experience that is just completely embedded in what we are and what we do here. How the hell would you call that a contrivance?
All right, well, I guess we could be, it depends on how explicitly you want to define the word. I mean, obviously, evolution doesn't have a brain. It doesn't contrive things for a purpose and all that kind of stuff. But the point is we are built with mechanisms. Okay, it's like teeth are a contrivance, okay, for making food more digestible. They're a mechanism, a tool. So, you want to replace the word mechanism or tool, that's okay, I suppose. But the point is that, I mean, I'm using the word contrivance because, yes, it is the mechanism, the thing used to get us to the end. But it has nothing to do with establishing the validity of the end. So I mean to use the word contrivance because it is something that has no, it's not a necessary, it's not a vital. It's it's something manufactured in some cheaper way. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'm using it in a way to make it sound a little more synthetic and plastic. It's a synthetic.
I mean, what does that mean?
You know, it's a cheat. It's a way of cheating the organism, controlling it.
But what do you mean when you say the validity of the end? Like, you know, this contrivance has nothing to do with the validity of the objectives we're moving toward. What the fuck would validity mean?
Well, validity would mean, like I said, that evolution is just about reproduction. That game, playing that game, the reproduction game, perpetuating it, that was never validated by anything. Nothing ever said, oh yeah, that's a good thing for matter to be doing. Matter should be consuming itself and reproducing into this form.
Alright, stop 1 second there, Gary. I want to ask you further. Okay, you said evolution is about, you know, basically just perpetuating, you know, the life. And you said nothing ever validated that. What would validation mean in that sense?
Because it's an experiment. The game is on now, okay? This is now a rat maze game. Living things will be at jeopardy. Sentient creatures, things capable of being harmed. Harmed is interjected into the circumstance. So it is now describable it's describable as, come on, Remy, god damn it, will you let me finish my fucking sentences? It's now describable as a fucking experiment, okay? Now, experiments can be evaluated for their efficacy, for their accomplishment. And what I'm saying is nature's under no judgment. Nothing's judged. The life experiment.
All right, my question is this, Gary. Could you give me an example? Could you give me an example of something that would validate life? What would make life valid?
Or our intelligence is capable of evaluating. So yes, we can evaluate the experiment. We can judge its efficacy, its accomplishments, its productivity, its efficiency. The universe can't. It doesn't have a brain. Only brains can evaluate.
All right, fair enough, Gary. So what would be a valid experiment for you? I mean, what for you would validate the life we live?
400-pound diamond. I don't, you know, what are you asking me, Remy? I mean, it has to have a legitimate purpose. So if there was some other planet that had suffering 5-year-old girls on it in little red dresses, right? So the whole planet's covered with 5-year-old girls in red dresses, and they all have brain tumors and are suffering, right? And so we're on this planet, and we can manufacture stuff that makes them better, that takes away their suffering. All right, now that would be a valid experiment then. The human race would have a function. It would have something it was accomplishing. It wasn't be just spilling milk and then cleaning up half the milk. It would be actually accomplishing some value in the universe. Okay.
No, sorry.
Well, I don't know how it's not, Remy. I'm sorry.
That would not be an example from your point of view, because you know you start with the idea that suffering is an absolute. That all that we can do is to try to diminish suffering. So, you know, the only way that we can, you know, I mean, the only way life could be good would be if we could erase the negative, which, you know, as you, in your point of view, would be to have no life at all. Right? So
exactly.
All those.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not my fault that it's all made out of red numbers. I've said it as clearly as I can say it, Remy. The only real numbers are red numbers, and the only real positive is erasing negative. I've said those explicit words. That's the unfortunate. That's why it's a zero-sum game, because there is no absolute positive you can create. All you can create is the elimination of negatives.
Okay, right. No, I totally understand what you're saying. I've understood what you have to say about this for like 3 years at least. But you're saying that life would be only valuable if we could validate. But what the fuck would validate mean in your language if no validation is possible?
Well, I'm just saying, yeah, there's no positive possible. That's right. Without creating a negative, there's no positive possible. That's not, I didn't make the rules. That's how the electricity works. Okay? It can only go in one direction, and that's the way the universe is. You have to create a negative before you can have a positive. You have to create a problem before intelligence can have a purpose. Can you? This is a whole nother argument I've been making in videos, but maybe you can get this one. Maybe you can actually understand this one. Intelligence would have absolutely nothing to do if there wasn't something for it to fix. The only use that intelligence can be applied to is optimizing a circumstances, making something more efficient or more productive, or eliminating a negative, eliminating friction, eliminating a flaw, perfecting. That's the only thing intelligence could have any practical function in doing. So the world has to be flawed or broken for intelligence to even have value.
Well, yes and no. I mean, one thing intelligence tries to do is expand its knowledge. Obviously, if we had perfect knowledge, then we wouldn't have to expand it. But
try is a tricky word, Remy, because it's not the intelligence that tries to do that. That's the human being feeding off of the pleasure they derive by answering questions. I'm talking about what the intelligence can do itself. Okay, there'd be no accomplishment in knowing everything if you could do nothing with the knowledge. If the knowledge didn't have some practical value where you could do something with it, okay, it of itself would have absolutely no meaning, no substance, no value, no anything. There would be no value in possessing it.
in other words, I think what you're saying is there would be no value in being God, where everything is immediately present to your consciousness. I tend to agree, but what you're saying is that an intelligence seeks to do things, right? And that implies that there are things not yet done, right? So, I mean, when I
what I'm saying is intelligence can have a mission, okay? Intelligence has one mission. You keep talking about the possessor of the intelligence. We have to separate the human who wants things from intelligence itself. So let's just talk about an intelligence. And what an intelligence doesn't have personal wants. So I'm just saying the intelligence itself, though, has no function if there isn't, like a Mr. Spock. A Mr. Spock is frozen, is dead, is an iceberg if he doesn't have some human to take care of.
No, you're giving way too little credit to Mr. Spock. I mean, there are a bunch of questions about the universe that are unanswered for him, and he's going to answer them for all.
But what value would the answers have, Remy, if you could do nothing with the answers? Again, you just keep talking from a human perspective who wants, a wanting human, a human who wants the answer. I'm not talking about the human that wants. I'm talking about the functionality of the intelligence. The intelligence has no value or meaning if there is not a problem to solve. And the only thing that can create problems are wanty humans. Wanty animals, wanty sentiences. They create the problem. Intelligence tries to create solutions.
Yes, I agree. Right? If there were no brains that quested after answers, then there would be no questions, I guess. But what's wrong with that?
Again, it's not a matter of wrong. I'm just explaining again, this is another quirk of the universe, that the thing we have the most value for, this thing we call intelligence is itself just a janitor, damn it. It's just a janitor. It's just there to clean up the mess that we make with our emotions.